Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to cut through the noise, get you up to speed on topics that really matter. And today, we're zooming in on something often overlooked but totally critical for high-performance RC cars: lubricants, specifically grease.
That's right, because in the compact, high-stress world of RC, the right grease, it's not just a nice to have, it's absolutely vital for performance, for longevity.
And let's be real, for avoiding that horrible moment when a part just gives up, mid-race or mid-jump.
Exactly. Nobody wants that. So our mission here today is to give you a shortcut. We're diving into the temperature tolerances of RC greases from 4 big names: Tamiya, Associated Electronics, Hudy, and MIP Moore's Ideal Products.
Okay, Tamiya, AE, Hudy, MIP. Got it. But before we get into brands, let's clear up some terms. People throw words around, but what do they actually mean for your car? Maybe start with operating temperature range. What's that about?
Yeah, good starting point. The operating temperature range is honestly the most crucial one for you, the user. It's that temperature span, from cold start to running hot, where the grease actually does its job effectively, where it lubricates properly without, breaking down or getting too thick.
Okay, seems straightforward enough, but I've heard there's a lot of confusion around another term, dropping point. People seem to think that's the max temp.
Ah, yes, the dropping point. This is where people really get tripped up. It's actually a lab test. It's static, done for quality control, really. It tells you when the grease gets fluid enough to drop under very specific test conditions. It helps identify a grease type, sure, but here's the key. It is not the maximum continuous operating temperature.
So using that number on the tube as your limit is risky.
Very risky, because the base oil, the part that actually lubricates, can start degrading much earlier at lower temperatures. So you could have lubrication failure happening way before you ever hit that theoretical dropping point, because it's kind of a red herring for actual use.
Wow, okay. That is a critical difference. Definitely something easy to misunderstand. So if operating range is key and dropping point is more QC, what about the cold end? Is there a term for that?
Yep, that's the pour point. It basically defines the lowest temperature where the grease's base oil can still flow properly. Go below that, and your grease basically turns into, gel. It stops flowing, stops lubricating. Bad news, especially for things that move fast right from the start.
Gotcha. Cold weather performance is definitely a factor for some racers. And really quick, just to understand what we're working with. What is grease, fundamentally? What are its main components?
Right, the anatomy. It's essentially 3 things. First, the base oil. That's the liquid lubricant doing the real work. Its type heavily influences thermal stability. Second, the thickener. Think of it like a sponge. It holds the base oil in place so it doesn't just run out. It also influences that dropping point we talked about.
Okay, oil and a sponge.
And third, additives. These are like the special ingredients. Things like moly, molybdenum disulfide, graphite, maybe PTFE. They're added for specific jobs, extreme pressure protection, reducing friction, stuff like that.
Okay, oil, thickener, additives. Makes sense. So pulling this all together, what does this actually mean when you're working on your RC car? Because our deep dive shows pretty clearly there's no magic one grease-fits-all solution, is there?
Absolutely not. I know it's tempting to just grab one tube, but optimal performance and making your parts last, that really comes from being a bit more strategic. You need to match the grease to the job and, crucially, the temperatures it's likely to see. It's about using the right tool for the right task.
Right. So if you're serious about RC, what should be in your, essential grease toolkit based on what these top brands offer?
Good question. We've kind of boiled it down to 3 main types you should probably have on hand. First, definitely get a high-pressure moly or graphite grease.
Okay, like for the tough spots.
Exactly. Think high-load, metal-on-metal stuff, your CVAs, those drive shafts, universal joints, maybe diff thrust bearings. That's where things like AE's FT black grease or the Tamiya moly grease or Hudy's graphite grease really shine. They handle that intense pressure.
Makes sense. Prevent that metal grinding. What's number 2?
Second, you need a really high-quality silicone grease. This stuff is indispensable for ball diffs, gear diffs, O-rings, basically anywhere you have grease near plastic parts, because silicone won't degrade plastics.
Compatibility is key there.
Totally. And a bonus, they're usually great in the cold. Some work down to -40 C or F. It's the same down there. Think Hudy's Super Diff Grease or AE's Stealth Diff Lube.
Right. Versatile stuff. Okay, one more.
Yep. Third is a specialty bearing grease. This is laser focused on maximizing the life and efficiency of those high-speed wheel bearings and motor bearings.
So not just any grease for bearings.
Ideally, no. Some are even optimized for conditions, like Hudy has a blue one bearing grease blue, estimated for cold down to maybe -30 Celsius, and they have a red one bearing grease red, built for higher load and heat, maybe up to 160 C, which is pretty hot.
Interesting. Different greases for different bearing needs, cold versus heat.
Precisely. So you see, it's about targeted application. And, thinking about this, understanding these grease principles for tiny RC cars, it might actually make you look at other things differently.
How so?
Well, the basic science of lubrication, material science, it applies everywhere. Your full-size car, your bike, maybe tools or machines you use. These fundamental ideas of how thin films protect moving parts under different stresses and temperatures. It's kind of fascinating and surprisingly universal once you start noticing it.
That's a great point. From tiny gears to big machines, the principles hold. Well, that brings us to the end of this deep dive into the world of RC lubricants. Hopefully this gives you a clear picture and helps keep your machine running smoother and longer.
Yeah, choose wisely.
Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, keep those gears greased.